Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Looking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos, and lots to get to on this Tuesday. We now got two sports in full swing that we talk about here pretty routinely. Football, of course, coming down the home stretch in November, and basketball underway. Tigers in action in Vegas and Baton Rouge last night, and we're talking about that. LSU's quarterback situation, a little murky at this point. We'll talk about that as well. Glenn West with us in 30 minutes talking Tigers. He's a senior writer at Go 24/7. We'll talk Sharif Ishaq in hour number 2. I've got some thoughts on the Heisman Trophy coming up in hour number 2 as well. So plenty to get to here on this Tuesday. We are going to start in Baton Rouge on the hardwood. LSU's men's basketball team got the season off to a nice start last night. They win by 46 points. It was up into the 50s late in the game, but they win by 46 points over Mississippi Valley State to start year 2 of the Matt McMahon era in Baton Rouge. Look, you play Louisiana Christian in exhibition, it's a total mismatch. You play Mississippi Valley State in the opener, it is a total mismatch. Not here to tell you how far they can make it in the NCAA tournament, whether they can make the NCAA tournament, whether they can make the NIT, where they rank in the SEC. It's just 40 minutes out there on the hardwood, running around, breaking a sweat, and beating a team by 50. We'll get into some of the things that I noticed in the game, but we're not going to paint a bunch of sweeping pictures and big generalizations based on a blowout of a SWAC school inside Tiger Stadium. The first thing that jumps out to me, one, watching the exhibition, watching the game last night, and going into the stat sheet, is that LSU is shooting the ball extremely well through 2 glorified scrimmages, okay? But they're shooting it great. If you take the numbers from Louisiana Christian and from Mississippi Valley State, Carlos Stewart is 4 of 6 from 3. Jordan Wright is 6 of 10 from 3. Tyrell Ward is 7 of 12 from 3. Imwani Wilkinson is 7 of 12 from 3. And Will Baker is 2 of 3 from 3. Those 5 guys who will likely take the lion's share of your three-point attempts this year, Carlos Stewart, Jordan Wright, Tyrell Ward, Imwani Wilkinson, and Will Baker. There's some other guys that will shoot. Mike Williams will shoot. But those are the guys who will shoot most of your threes, 60% through 2 outings, a game and an exhibition. Last night, LSU, for the game, shot a blistering 14 of 26 from 3 for 54%. I said this yesterday. I said this after the exhibition game. This team is limited in some ways. They don't have a true point guard. I don't know how that is going to go in terms of ball handling. I'm not sure how good they're going to be on defense. There may be some rebounding issues. There's an overall talent ceiling on this team. They're not an elite level team, or at least don't have the look of one right now. But I think they can shoot. And if you can get off the bus and shoot, I'm not asking them to shoot 54%, but if this can be a team that hovers in the real high 30s from three-point percentage, that's going to be among the best in the SEC, and that just gives you a chance to get hot. It gives you a chance to erase a 10-point deficit with 9 minutes to go in the game. It gives you a chance if you can be a team that shoots it. It makes defenses extend and get out there and stretch themselves out. It creates driving lanes. It creates long rebounds. It creates momentum-changing plays. As I look at this team and I understand the limitations that they have, I do find some solace in looking and going, I think some of these guys can really shoot. And they've proven that through a couple of games. Now, your shots are going to be far more closely contested against Arkansas and Kentucky than they are against Louisiana Christian, Mississippi Valley. We know that. And again, I don't expect them to shoot 60% from 3 like that group did through 2 games. But I think there's some real shooting ability on this team, and I like that. I just like to fall back on that sometimes. Would I rather have a bunch of, potential lottery picks out there that a potential national player of the year. Yeah, I'd rather have that. But while we're looking at this team and seeing what we may have, I'm excited about the way that they've shot it. The headliner in the game statistically, and if you were watching the game last night, was, of course, Will Baker, the transfer, first to Texas, then to Nevada, now here to Baton Rouge. And Baker had 29 points last night. He shot 10 of 11 from the floor. He made both of his threes. He was 7 of 8 from the free throw line. Just an incredibly efficient offensive performance from Will Baker. And he's shown himself to be a very solid offensive player in his college time. At Nevada last year, he scored 13.5 points per game. He shot 56% from the floor. He did shoot 36% with a healthy amount of attempts for a 7-footer from the three-point line. He was an 84% free throw shooter last year. So he's a skilled offensive player. There was never any doubt about that with Will Baker. Is he an elite level athlete? He is not. Is he going to play up above the rim? Not really. He can dunk it and made some acrobatic plays last night against a grossly outmanned team. But the skill is there. And there was a point in the first half, about halfway through, where you're really still focusing on winning the game. You can kind of do whatever you want in the second half after it gets away from Mississippi Valley State. But they just started dumping it inside to Baker, and Mississippi Valley State just didn't have anybody that could deal with him. And when he has a size advantage, he could go down there and use both hands, use that pump fake game. He's really savvy with his pivot foot. He's just a skilled offensive player. Now, what does that look like against Marble and Coleman from A&M? What does it look like against Janai Broom over at Auburn? What does it look like against the huge guys Kentucky was trotting out last night in their game? I don't know yet. But I do trust the fact that he can shoot it from deep. I trust the fact that he can make free throws. And I trust the fact that he's probably going to command some attention down there. This is the replacement for KJ Williams. Their games are a little bit different. But that's the type of role that Will Baker is going to play. And last night after the game, Matt McMahon was asked about Will Baker and what they expect to see from their big man this year, and he gave this answer.
We wanted to identify an experienced front court player who was not only skilled and effective down in the post, but could step out and shoot the ball on the perimeter. And I thought you saw all of that from Will tonight. He's also a really good passer out of the post. So we wanted to get him established. And one thing that he did a little more of tonight that hadn't seen a ton of, I thought his shot fake on the perimeter and our spacing was good. He was able to get downhill to the rim and have a couple really nice finishes there.
Baker did all of that, the 29 points on 10 of 11 shooting, 7 of 8 from the line, and 2 of 2 from 3 in 19 minutes of action last night. I mean, it was a flurry there in the first half, and they just didn't have an answer for him. But good for Will for getting off to a good start. Certainly the competition will ramp up for him. I did feel like it was pretty evident that LSU did not have a point guard last night. They start Mike Williams, which is a little bit surprising to me. I'm thrilled that a young player has that much trust from the coaching staff that they can send him out there. And look, he didn't shoot it very well last night, and that's fine. But it's sometimes they were doing some things after the rebound, trying to get the ball off the front court that just looked unforced and a little rushed. And you get the ball down, and Jalen Reed's running it out on the break. And it's just they're going to have to figure out ball handling roles on this team. That's evident. And they've got some guys who can do it. Carlos Stewart and Mike Williams and Jordan Wright can do it. Trey Hannibal can do it. It's just not what Jalen Cook could bring to you. And it was evident last night that they don't have a true point guard on this team. I loved the fact that LSU was 15 of 16 on free throws in the first half. I like that a ton. That goes back to the shooting deal. If you're going to try to close out basketball games, that's one way you're going to have to do it. And quite frankly, if you're going to stay in basketball games, you're going to have to make those shots as well. And I trust that there's some guys on this team that can really, really make free throws. Jalen Reed's going to have to improve in that capacity, but the rest of the guys, I think, good job shooting free throws in the first half. In the second half, Hunter Dean missed 5, and it kind of threw it out of whack a little bit. Dean's going to be a rotational big on this team who's probably not going to shoot a ton of free throws, so I'm not too concerned with all that. But the shooting, again, was very, very good. Defensively for LSU, not a ton you can tell in terms of their execution against Mississippi Valley State, but I did like the fact that LSU showed some three-quarter court press early, trying to slow some teams down and create smaller shot clocks. I'm a little worried about LSU defensively with this group, and if you can make the shot clock shrink by showing some three-quarter court pressure and slowing teams down, getting the ball into the front court, maybe you don't have to defend quite as long. So that was just one thing that I noticed on defense. I can't tell you much about what Mississippi Valley State brings offensively. It's not very good, so I'm not going to take any huge takeaways from that. But the Tigers do get a win, 106-60 over Mississippi Valley State, and they'll be back in action coming up on Friday. I'll briefly mention the women from last night because that was a bit of a bummer and a little bit shocking to, I think, some. Colorado just boat raced them. I watched a little bit of that game before the men started, and then I had it on a separate screen, but I was watching the men a little bit more closely, and then the second half happened, and Florida State just ran away. My concern level for LSU's women's basketball team this season is 0.0, an absolute zero. They were bad last night. They were terrible on defense, straight line drives all day. Colorado was just attacking and dominating, really, and they'll get some things figured out. I don't know that I'm going to leap up and go, oh, it's all NIL. These girls don't care. They've got their money. They're cashed it. They got 5 months to figure it out. I think they'll be just fine. So impressive effort from Colorado to take it to them. I think probably a little stunning to the Lady Tigers. And, if you want to jump into sweeping generalizations on that, you could say, man, maybe a wake-up call, but who knows? I think that it's just one game. They went out there and got their butts kicked for 2 hours, calling back to Louisiana, go to work and see what you can do throughout this non-conference slate. So a little bit shocking for the number one Lady Tigers to get drubbed like that, but they're playing a good team and an old team, and they've got some new pieces they got to figure it out. So defense probably needs to improve greatly, if we're being quite honest, with the LSU Lady Tigers, and I'm assuming that it very much will. Off to a good start here on this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Glenn West is going to be with us in 15 minutes talking Tigers. When we come back, we'll ease into Florida week. We talked Alabama yesterday. I want to ease into Florida week, and the question is, what does LSU do with the quarterback situation and Jaden Daniels? I've got my thoughts, big picture on what that needs to look like. That's all coming up next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
As the weather gets colder, now obviously this is some national copy, so we'll just change it. As the weather gets cooler works down here. The NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Been thinking about joining FanDuel? There's no better time to get on the action than right now. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel is an official partner of the National Football League. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame moneyline wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues, knowledgeable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone who has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the
I've
extra
been doing business
mile.
with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction.
Handgriff, join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from the original Walk-Ons, Burbank at Nicholson. Wes Reynolds will be with us along with Scott Rabelais and Randy McKay. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Today is not a practice day, so we didn't have to make that determination. We wouldn't make that determination until tomorrow when he goes through the next stage of his protocol.
That's Brian Kelly talking about his starting quarterback, Jaden Daniels, who, as you well know, left the game on Saturday with head injury. And when you keep hearing the word protocol and all that, it stands to reason that Jaden Daniels dealing with some concussion issues. And the question is, how does that progress this week? I went on a national radio show earlier today, and they asked, like, how's Jaden Daniels? Like, I don't know. I'll tell you that with Les Miles, I know we would never know until it was game time. If I was covering LSU baseball with Paul Maneri, I'd know every detail and when he was going to the doctor. It's just coaches handle injury information differently. And Brian Kelly's kind of been a little bit of a mixed bag. Sometimes there's an injury and we just don't hear about it, doesn't bring it up. Sometimes he does tell us what the issue is. In this case, we feel pretty comfortable saying that Jaden Daniels has got some concussion issues that have to work themselves out day over day. Today's the first day where LSU would strap the pads on and get out there. And there's a protocol here, and I can't claim to know every step of the way. I understand that everybody reacts differently to these head and brain injuries, and that sometimes folks feel good and ready to go, and sometimes these things can linger, and there are significant symptoms that are there. What remains consistent throughout all of this is that you have to meet some benchmarks, and they're going to be very, very careful with what they do with a player dealing with concussion issues. So as we sit here on Tuesday, you've got a football game coming up on Saturday night. I'll give you my assumption. My assumption, again, assuming, not knowing, is that Jaden Daniels is going to need a little bit of time this week. You're into November. He's been in this offense for 2 years now, and you don't have to rush him out there into practice. He's got a pretty good handle on what they're doing out there. That's pretty evident. So I would assume that Garrett Nussmeier will be taking some reps early on in this week. And Jaden Daniels will take them as he's able. So Brian Kelly was asked yesterday, like, how big a week is this for Garrett Nussmeier?
I think every week has been important for him in terms of preparation. Certainly, we're going to make sure that he is ready. There's some things we got to clean up, and he knows it. So, yeah, I would say that he clearly recognizes that, there's some things that he's got to do better during practice, and, he's up for it, and I'm sure he's excited about it.
It's good for Garrett Nussmeier to get some reps on Tuesday and potentially on Wednesday and then on Thursday. And by Friday, you're doing walkthroughs and whatnot. And if Jaden Daniels can't go through a walkthrough on Friday, they're certainly not strapping him up with a helmet on Saturday and having him go out there and play the Florida Gators. So at that point, you'll know. They'll know. We won't. We probably won't know, but they'll know. But I think it's important for Garrett Nussmeier to get some reps early on this week. And Brian Kelly talked about how they figure to handle that.
Look, we'll take Jaden's situation, day by day, and we're hopeful and that things continue to move in the right direction. But you always have to prepare yourself for the eventuality of both quarterbacks playing, and we'll continue to do that. And Garrett really knows that there's some things that he's got to work on during the week. So I think we'll just be a lot more of a focused working kind of situation for him, in that it's he's one snap away from getting in the game.
I think there are probably a number of you listening, big LSU fans, invested fully in this team and the program moving forward, and you have a thought and you go, we lost our third game against Alabama last week. We can't win the West. Can't win the SEC, can't make the college football playoff, can't win a national championship, and Jaden's going to be gone after this year. So you know what? I think it's time for Jaden to take a seat. Let's see what Nussmeier can do against Florida. Sounds like something you've heard or something you've thought? That's not how this is going to work. Not how this is going to work. If Jaden Daniels is healthy and cleared by medical professionals to play on Saturday, he will play. For a number of reasons. One, because he's the best quarterback on the team, and he needs to be out there to give the best chance to win to this team. Number two, there's a whole team you've got to think about that's only playing this year, and you got to give them the best opportunity. Number three, you've got a guy who's very much in the thick of the Heisman race. I'm going to talk about this in 40 minutes. About what I think of the Heisman race, but Jaden Daniels is in it. Is he the favorite? He's not. Would I bet on him to win? I would not. Is he in it? Yes. Would it be a disservice to him if he's healthy and cleared to say, hey, man, I know you've put up these numbers, you've been unbelievable all year, and sorry that Dallas Turner blatantly targeted you and knocked you out of the game. Sorry about that. And, we lost, so just take a couple weeks off. Not how that's going to work. He also has a draft future that he's putting together. And that work is not done. So yeah, the best thing for LSU's football team next year would be for Garrett Nussmeier to play the rest of the snaps, because Jaden's not going to be out there next year. But that's not how this thing works. Now, however, you do have a backup quarterback that has some experience and can go. So if Jaden Daniels has sensitivity issues, lingering symptoms into Thursday or Friday, you can send him out there, and I think that you need to be prepared for that. I don't know what they know about how Jaden feels right now, but my guess would be that Mike Denbrock's wheels started spinning on Saturday night and into Sunday of, okay, if we've got Jaden on Saturday, then we'll just do kind of what we do. We've got to tailor some things to what Florida's defense does, and we'll communicate those to him throughout the course of the week. But it is our offense. If Garrett's out there, things may look a little different. And we need to focus some of the time early in the week on making sure Garrett's comfortable with some of the things we want to do in the game against Florida. If it turns out we don't need those, that's just the deal. But as Brian Kelly said in both of those sound bites, we've basically got to get both quarterbacks ready to play every week. But what's not going to factor into the decision with Jaden Daniels is, well, we're playing Georgia State next week, and, Musk can play that game. Might help him to get some reps in that game. And so he might be ready to go on Thursday, Friday. Jaden might, but we're just going to sit him because we're thinking about, we want to be sure we're ready for USC next year, and Nuss is going to be that. That's not how this is going to work. Jaden is either cleared on Thursday and Friday to go, or he's not. And so you prepare yourself early in the week to have Nuss ready to go. And if by the time Wednesday rolls around, the docs are looking up going, hey, he's hit every benchmark. We need one more test this evening. If he passes that, he's good to go on Thursday to practice, walk through on Friday, and he's good to go on Saturday. And then you prepared Garrett, and he's still ready to go, but you've got your starting quarterback who's earned that spot, who has a lot to play for, and he's going to be your guy. These are the conversations I dislike. And I realize that I'm the one who brought it up. I'm the one who opened the microphone and started having the conversation. But if LSU had won the game against Alabama, there would be no discussion from anyone saying like, yeah, let's get Nuss a look here. That would not be even a consideration. And because of the nature of college football, where by the middle of November, so many teams have lost the ability to accomplish goals that they may have set out for themselves, it starts to change the conversation. Again, I don't think it changes anything that they do over there in football ops. I'm not in football ops. I'm in this conversation on ESPN Baton Rouge. I'm here to discuss things relevant to the fan base and our following of the program. So Brian Kelly's not having this conversation, but we are, because it's our job to sit here and talk about where the team is and what's best and what's not. And this is just a discussion, unfortunately, we've got to have because the starting quarterback went out. My sincere hope is that Jaden Daniels plays in that game and plays every snap of it on Saturday night. I would be interested to watch Garrett Nussmeier play in the game, but I don't really care for interesting right now. Let's go win a game. You got to go beat Florida. You've got to finish this season on a high note and sign this recruiting class. It's going to have 30-something guys in it and keep pushing this program forward, because what we've seen now through 9 weeks of action is that LSU's not at a championship level right now. And the only piece of the puzzle that is certainly on a championship level is the offense, and the guy who's piloting that whole ship is the guy we're sitting here talking about to start. So there will be no, well, just give him a couple weeks. There will be no, we lost last week. I think it's time to give this. There will be, what's safe? Jaden's sitting out. All right, Nussmeier, go. What's safe? He's ready to play. He's in. That's the discussion this week. So that's what Brian Kelly will be dealing with. No media availability for Brian Kelly today. He will be on the SEC teleconference tomorrow, and I'm certain he'll be asked about it, and then he'll meet with the media one more time on Thursday before his coach's show, and I'm sure you'll hear about it on Thursday as well. It's just going to be a step-by-step deal. It's a pretty clear roadmap in terms of concussions. It's not like some of the other soft tissue injuries, like, well, how does that feel? What's your pain level? It's like, did you pass that test? Do you have any symptoms? All right. And LSU they made a misstep on Saturday by putting him back out in the game and then taking him out one play later. We'll see how things progress later on this week with LSU's quarterback, Jaden Daniels. I'll get some thoughts on that entire situation from Glenn West of Go 24/7. He joins us next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is that website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, Myers man, he's got to take a bath every night. About 6 o'clock, he gets in there, he splashes everything all over the place. We have to make sure he doesn't slip and fall and break his head open. It's a scene in the Palmer house when he takes a bath. But a lot of y'all aren't using your bathtubs. My wife certainly doesn't use it. Take it out. Tub to shower conversion. Put a gorgeous glass walk-in shower. Changes the aesthetic of your bathroom, changes the functionality of your bathroom. And David Duvall and his team can do it for you. If you're thinking, well, may not be a great time to pay for that, financing options absolutely available at One Bath and Closets. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com. Check out the testimonials, see pictures of their great works on the bathroom side and the closet side, and request that free consultation so that David Duvall and his team can come over and show you what they can do and how they can do it. I can promise you this. They're not going to take your job, rush through it, get to the next one for the next paycheck, and have to come back 2 weeks later because they screwed something up. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Find them at the website, onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time to sleep. cyber stumps. Your roots are planted deep inside of me.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Sean Salisbury joins us, and a recruiting update with Shea Dixon. Hopefully you'll join us Tuesday 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, right here on ESPN Baton Rouge. Shout out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chat with our guy, Glenn West of Go 24/7. Glenn, how are you, sir?
Hey, Hunt. Doing all right. How about yourself?
Doing well. Your thoughts on LSU's defense Saturday night?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, it was not – I mean, look, I think most of us that were kind of expecting this to be kind of an offensive shootout for good reason, but I can't tell you that I was expecting it to be in the way that Alabama did it on the ground. You know, I thought if there was going to be a way that they were going to attack LSU, it was going to be in the secondary, and I think LSU thought that. Certainly, I think a lot of the media and fans, you know, just thought that as well. And you get there, and then it's almost 300 yards rushing on this front seven that just really had no chance throughout the night. There were very little adjustments made throughout the game. Very concerning with the run fits, but really it was just the scrambling ability of Jalen Milroe. And look, we've seen this happen with LSU multiple times this year. They have not been a great team in terms of containing mobile quarterbacks. You know, I think that you know, obviously the way that KJ Jefferson, Jordan Travis, some of these other guys, Jackson Dart, were able to have success. You know, it started with their legs, but they also were able to affect the game via the pass. Milroe had a nice night passing. I'm not taking anything away from what he did passing, but it really did feel like a very one-dimensional offense that Alabama was running in terms of just how effective they were with Milroe scrambling and running the ball, improvising, getting you know, really having no problems getting into the second and third levels of this defense because there was just nobody there to tackle him when he escaped. So I think that was the biggest takeaway. Certainly, when you have 6 rushing touchdowns and almost 300 yards rushing, it's going to be hard to win. You know, the time of possession in a game like that. It's going to be hard to feel good about your chances. And certainly LSU had to play perfect on offense. They didn't play perfect, and you're looking here at a 14-point loss, and pretty much all of your preseason goals now kind of out the window.
As you sit here now that we're what is this, 9 games in, 8 games in, 9 games in, how do you best describe how this defense went from pretty good last year to almost indescribably bad in the course of one offseason?
Well, I think probably the biggest thing that I've noticed this year, and look, it's not uncommon for new programs that are kind of trying to establish themselves to have this kind of problem, but there's been pretty much zero continuity, I would say, from last year to this year in terms of just the defense and who you're getting back, who you were expecting to be big players for you. I mean, outside of Harold Perkins and Major Burns, this has been a pretty new group of players all season long. So, obviously you're missing Greg Brooks a ton right now. You're missing some of those veteran corners that you had last year that were able to, I wouldn't say, blow the doors off in terms of their production, but they were very consistent in their protections and in their man-to-man coverage. I think LSU could play a little bit more man-to-man, tight man-to-man coverage last year than they've been able to this year. And you haven't had that continuity like you've seen on the offensive side of the ball, and I really do think that that's where kind of the disparity lies. Brian Kelly talked a lot about the defense needing to catch up to the offense, and that they're not there yet. And I think probably the part that he left out was that the offense really retained a lot of their players and brought back a lot of the major pieces that they were going to be relying on. They obviously improved in the run game by bringing in Logan Diggs, whereas the defense they made an effort to add some depth and bring in some younger pieces that maybe they could build around for a couple of years, and now those younger pieces are no longer here or just injured or inactive for whatever reason. I mean, there's been a lot of reasons why this has gone so south, but I think probably the biggest thing to me and what really stands out is just kind of the lack of carryover in terms of personnel defensively, and it's really affected obviously the way that they've approached scheme. They've gone back and forth on a number of different schemes and approaches this year, and then obviously the coaching has not been stellar, and I think that they've had a tough time trying to figure out which guys work best in what roles, and that's something that they're still trying to figure out here 9 weeks into the season.
How realistic is it to think they can turn it around in this next offseason and field an average to above average SEC defense? Does this feel like it's a multi-year fix, or does it feel like they've got some pieces they can work with?
I think they have a few pieces they can work with, but I mean, I think you really have to hit hit it out of the park this year in the portal. I think you're going to see heavy portal usage again on the defensive side of the ball. I think that there's a lot of position groups right now on that side that they need some major retooling, and I think you've got some strong foundation and guys like Whit Weeks, and I think Toviano's a guy that you're going to be able to rely on down the line. But there's Womack, Deshaun Womack is a guy that you're hoping can really play for you, but there's going to be some real turnover here, I think, and some real attrition with the defensive side of the ball. I mean, how could there not be when you've had this kind of struggle? And I don't think it stops with the coaching staff. I think it's certainly personnel, and I think you're going to see them all evaluate and kind of talk about just what the best way that this defense can look like going forward. But I don't know that it's going to be a one-year fix. I think it's going to require multiple years here to try to get this thing back, or at least as close as you can to where the offense is right now, and see if you can't hit the portal out of the park. Strike gold on a couple freshmen that are maybe ready to play early again next year. But it's definitely going to be a big offseason, I think, for Brian Kelly.
Glenn West, senior writer at Go 24/7, is our guest here, like he is each and every Tuesday. On the offensive side of things, they moved the ball when Jaden Daniels was in there. How do you best summarize his performance in Tuscaloosa?
I mean, he was electric, dynamic, everything that you could want for about 2 quarters and a half there. And then, look, the interception to start the fourth quarter was not great. And it was I kind of sum that up to more of just a really good play by Alabama And obviously I think one of the major turning points, and I'm sure you've touched on it, some other people have touched on it too, but the drop by Mason Taylor there, where you had a chance to in the third quarter, just kind of respond to Alabama's score there. You're not able to answer, and you have to kind of punt it away. That play, the interception, and then obviously Jaden getting knocked out of the game on the very next possession, I think that pretty much sealed LSU's fate in that game. And I was just super impressed by Jaden though in the first half. I mean, he combines for over 300 yards of offense by himself. He does pretty much everything. He puts the team on his back. There really wasn't much of a run game outside of him and his ability to scramble. So the fact that he was able to have so much success when there were drops, there were miscues, there were a few other issues that kind of cropped up throughout the game. I thought he was fantastic and really would have liked to see him finish that game. Maybe you don't win it. Maybe, it really comes down to a couple plays there. But I do think that if he kind of was able to stay in and not get knocked out of that game, they probably score another one or two times. It's just, can LSU's defense stop them? And I just don't think that there was any chance that was going to happen in the fourth quarter.
Nope, not any chance at all. LSU turn the page now, head to play Florida in Tiger Stadium on Saturday night. If Jaden Daniels cannot go, how do you feel about LSU's chances?
I still like the chances. I mean, I don't think that it's going to be the -12 or 13 spread or whatever it is right now, looking at the Vegas odds. But I think Garrett Nussmeier is more than capable of getting it done, especially if he has a week of practice with the starters. I mean, it's tough when you're asked to kind of be thrust in there in the fourth quarter and really kind of take helm of things when you're trailing. I mean, he's done it in the SEC championship game and had some success last year, but that's a tough position to be put in as a backup quarterback. So I think if Garrett gets the kind of reps that he needs this week and they kind of are ready to have a game plan with him in there, then I do like LSU's chances to continue to have some success on offense. This is a pretty dynamic Florida rushing attack. They've got a great back in Trevor Etienne. They've done a really nice job with Mertz and the way that he can throw the ball. He's been very efficient in terms of his completion percentage. So do you think this will be another challenge test for the defense? At this point, I don't really have a great answer for you in terms of how they get it done. But I do think this offense is going to be good enough, whether it's Nussmeier or Daniels, to kind of help get the job done and get LSU back in the win column.
Your thoughts on LSU basketball last night? Matt McMahon's second year gets off to a nice start with a win over an inferior team, but Will Baker goes for a lot of points, and it was a pretty solid effort, I thought.
Yeah, really strong effort. I thought, they did a really nice job. I think probably the biggest takeaway that I had coming out of that game, you're not going to make any sweeping declarations off of beating Mississippi Valley State by 46 points. But, what I did think that they did well was, the offensive movement was really good. I think that they're really just going to be in a position with no Jalen Cook where you're going to have to find somebody that's going and just lean into it. You're going to have, whether it was Will Baker last night, whether it's, whoever in the future. I think that, and I asked Jordan Wright about this, I asked Coach McMahon about this, they really like the personnel. They think they're a little bit deeper this year. They've seen some internal development from guys like Tyrell Ward that has them very, very encouraged that they can really lean on guys and really lean on perimeter shooting, lean on the hot hand, and kind of fill in when needed on the outside there. I think that they have a chance here to do to show some real progress in year two. And obviously a lot kind of hinges here on if Jalen Cook's appeal kind of comes through. But if that waiver does not get approved, I still think that there's a team in here that can compete at a more consistent level, certainly be a little bit more dynamic, I think, offensively with their perimeter shooting. And I do think this is going to be a team that'll be a little bit more entertaining to watch than last year for sure.
Thanks, Glenn. We'll do it again next week.
All right, Hunt. Thank you.
Glenn West, senior writer at Go 24/7. All your team coverage, all your recruiting coverage on the baseball beat. He's on the basketball beat. He's on the football beat. He's all over the place. And he's right here every single Tuesday at 1:30. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Breck's Baton Rouge Zoo welcome you to the 18th annual Zoo Run. The Zoo Run is Saturday, November the 18th, and includes a 5K race that starts and ends at the zoo, plus a half-mile kids fun run after the race. Stick around and enjoy a day at the zoo. Visit 1045ESPN.com today to register for a 4-pack of tickets that includes entry into the race. I cannot do that read about the zoo run without thinking about Michael Scott's run for rabies. When he eats all the fettuccine Alfredo and Andy's just chafing through his shirt. It's just quality writing. Quality show, The Office. Very, very good stuff. We'll come back and close out hour number 1 next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Marucci Sports, we've been telling you about them all fall long. Certainly a champion of Louisiana. Started in the backyard here in Baton Rouge, and all of a sudden now one of the premier outfielders of baseball equipment in the country. And it's not just that they're having so much success in the business world. It's that they're bringing great things to Louisiana. They're bringing talent to Louisiana to work in their baseball performance lab. They're bringing people to Louisiana in terms of tourism for the Marucci World Series every single year. They just do so much to better our great state. That's what makes them a champion of Louisiana. If you know a champion of Louisiana, could be a company, nonprofit, a person, we want to know about it. Go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana. We will tell their story thanks to LWCC's Champions of Louisiana campaign. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is celebrating Ram Power Days with $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 1500 trucks, $15,000 off, and a 1 million mile warranty. Plus, we'll pay your trade-off regardless of what you owe. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even
Sandgriff, join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from the original Walk-Ons, Burbank at Nicholson. Wes Reynolds will be with us along with Scott Rabelais and Randy McKay. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Tonight, Plucker Sports Trivia. It's Tuesday. That means we're at Plucker Sports Trivia. We'll be there at 8:30. Have you done by 10? You can come on out, grab a team, or come individually. We always have a good time at Plucker's Nicholson location, 8:30 Sports Trivia. 5 rounds, live action sports trivia. You can win gift cards, drink delicious cold beers, eat some awesome wings, and have a general good time out there at Plucker's. We're looking forward to it. Another thing that happens tonight is the college football rankings show again tonight. And the question is, did Georgia do enough to jump Ohio State? Ohio State, solid effort, and Georgia takes out a highly ranked Missouri team that last week in the college football playoff rankings came in at number 12. They don't really have to move Georgia. It doesn't really matter what they do, quite honestly. I think you're all pretty well aware of that. But Georgia's got Ole Miss this weekend, who's going to come in around 8 in this week's rankings. So I think that gives them the opportunity to leave them at 2, and if they beat Ole Miss, then you can move them up. And the question is, how much does Alabama get as far as credit goes for beating LSU at home? Obviously, they were behind Texas, and Texas got a ranked win, so I don't think that you're going to jump Texas with Alabama. But it's interesting, and it's all going to work itself out. Ohio State and Michigan are going to play. Washington and Oregon may have to play again. We'll see. Texas and Alabama already played. Oklahoma playing themselves right on out of things with their loss in Bedlam. But Ole Miss is right there in the mix. And I think, like I said, they're going to come in at about 8. And you can see a world where Ole Miss doesn't get to the SEC championship game and I think would still potentially be in consideration if they can beat Georgia on the road. That would be a big feather in the cap, and it still wouldn't get them in because Alabama, to this point, doesn't have a league loss. So that's just one of those interesting deals. I think that there aren't a ton of people around here that really care if Ohio State makes it or doesn't make it, if Michigan makes it or doesn't make it. We played Florida State the last 2 years, but I don't think any of y'all really care that much about Florida State. Do you care about Washington and Oregon around here? I would think probably not, but I do think that Ole Miss moves the needle a little bit in this market, and keeping them out of a 4-team playoff, I think would make people around here fairly happy. I've said this many times, and so I'll have to stick to it, and we'll see what happens over the next 5 weeks. But I've said in this format, in this division, if you want to get where you're going, you have to beat Alabama. And Ole Miss did not beat Alabama, just like A&M did not beat them in 2020, and they weren't rewarded with a playoff spot. Is it enough for Ole Miss to beat LSU on Ole Miss's home field, go to Athens and beat Georgia, and then throw your hands up? Say, yeah, we beat A&M too. It's going to be a 5-loss A&M probably. It's a 3 or 4-loss LSU. You didn't beat Bama, but you had the win by going to beat Georgia. I think Ole Miss is probably on the outside in that case because somebody's got to win the SEC championship game, and if Georgia were to win that, Bama beat Ole Miss. There's so many variables. It's hard to have the discussion. But to me, I'm not really interested that much in what Ohio State and Michigan and Florida State are ranked. I'm curious about Ole Miss. And if the likely scenario unfolds and Georgia beats Ole Miss in Athens on Saturday, well, then this discussion's completely moot. And usually speaking, this thing works itself out. And people lose in November. But it's the interesting angle to me at this point. I'm curious, maybe what the interesting angle to y'all is. There may not be one because LSU's got 3 losses and you're already done with the whole thing. That goes back to my original point about the structure of college football. But it is what it is. The playoff rankings will come out tonight. You still got 5 unbeatens, and they will they will be the top 5 teams in the country, and then all the 1-loss teams will follow that, and then all the 2-loss teams will follow that. It's generally how this thing is worked. But we'll talk about it a little bit tomorrow if there's anything noteworthy that is revealed tonight in the College Football Playoff Rankings show. Congratulations to Mark Cumby. Mark's our Week 10 winner in the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em Contest. Wins Twin Peaks gift card. Don't forget to make your picks for Week 11 by noon on Thursday. Play the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em today at 1045ESPN.com. That's it for hour number 1 here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Open the show recapping LSU's season opening basketball win in the PMAC against Mississippi Valley State. In segment number 2 today, talked about LSU's quarterback situation and how they're going to handle that early in the week, late in the week, and then on Saturday night. If you'd like to hear more about that, you can catch it on our YouTube channel, Hunt on LSU. That is Hunt on LSU. Subscribe to that channel. All your LSU football content right there to Hunt on LSU. Glenn West, always with us on Tuesdays. He was with us at 1:30 talking football and basketball. If you missed any of that and you want to catch it on demand, you can do so at 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your podcast, you can find our our shows and our sound each and every day. Also, full shows on YouTube each and every day as well. Hour number 2, going to hear some sound from Brian Kelly yesterday. We'll hear from Sharif Ishak of WDSU on the Saints and the Pels. When we come back to start hour number 2 after SportsCenter, I want to talk about Jaden Daniels Heisman chances. I think there's an eye roll there that could be produced because they've lost 3 games. I'll just kind of say where things sit right now. So come back after SportsCenter. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is celebrating Ram Power Days with $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 1500 trucks, $15,000 off, and a 1 million mile warranty. Plus, we'll pay your trade-off regardless of what you owe. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Rookie Will Levis is the Titans' starting quarterback the rest of the season. That announcement today from Coach Mike Vrabel. When Ryan Tannehill is healthy enough to return, he will back up Levis. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports the Rams signing quarterback Carson Wentz amid injury concerns to Matt Stafford. The Jets have no plans to change play callers. They're sticking with offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett, despite another anemic performance by the offense in the Monday Night Football loss. Many of the offense's issues are on quarterback Zach Wilson, says unsportsmanlike co-host Chris Canty.
Zach Wilson isn't and will never be a competent NFL quarterback. That's just the reality of the situation with the quarterback. We've seen enough of a sample size to realize what he can and what he can't do, who he is and who he's not.
Our Chris Canty. The Lakers contacted NBA league offices today about what they view as numerous missed foul calls in last night's loss to the Heat, according to ESPN's Dave McMenamin. LA's main point of contention, how LeBron James was officiated. Injured Florida State receiver Johnny Wilson did return to practice today, and he could play against Miami on Saturday.
Home, auto, prized sports memorabilia. Whatever you need to protect, Geico can help get you covered. And with the award-winning Geico mobile app, you can get 24/7 claim support and on-the-go policy access. It's easy to Geico. Go to geico.com today.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Hunt Palmer Show on a Tuesday. Thanks for hanging out with us to start your work week. Sharif Ishak, 30 minutes from right now, talking Saints and Pels from down there in the Big Easy. Heisman thoughts. Jaden Daniels played pretty good this year. If you were listening to the show yesterday, we had Denton Day on. And he said, "Look, if I'm voting for the Heisman, he's been the best player. I don't know how anyone could watch and think otherwise." So I wanted to kind of check out where things sat from a betting perspective, as well as just from a statistical perspective, because I can't promise to be able to offhand give you the statistics for all these leading guys, but I went and looked them up so I can help you with it now. FanDuel's odds: Michael Penix is the favorite at plus 140. Bo Nix is second at plus 200. J.J. McCarthy is third at plus 800. He joins Jordan Travis there. Carson Beck is plus 1,200. Marvin Harrison Jr. plus 1,600. Jaden Daniels isn't even on the board on the FanDuel that I saw. Now I went to a different site, saw Penix at plus 140, Nix at plus 210, Jaden Daniels in third at plus 350, in front of McCarthy at plus 650, Travis at plus 850, and Beck at plus 1,400. So right now, Michael Penix is the favorite everywhere. Michael Penix has had a phenomenal year. He's completing 69% of his passes. He's thrown for 3,200 yards, which leads the country. He's thrown 26 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. He's been great this year. No question about it. And in the biggest spot for Washington against Oregon, he had a monster game. Now, he threw in a couple that were not as awesome after that. Turned the ball over too many times. He's got 7 picks on the year, which leads any of the quarterbacks that I was mentioning there in the favorites. But they're undefeated. And that's what's very important in this voting now. Got to win games. And then there's something to be said for that, certainly. You're out there to win. But I think you could argue that it's not Jaden Daniels' fault that LSU has 3 losses. Look at Jaden Daniels' stat line in one of the losses. They lost to Ole Miss. He went 27 of 36 for 414 yards and 4 touchdowns and no interception in that game. And oh, by the way, he ran for 99 yards and a touchdown. He accounted in that game that LSU lost, which is a big deal, obviously. He went for 513 yards and 5 touchdowns. Michael Penix does not have a game this year where he went for 513 yards. But we're holding the losses against Jaden Daniels. Penix has only put up 5 touchdowns once. It was the opener against Boise State. Daniels did it in the game LSU lost in Oxford. So forgive me for not throwing Jaden Daniels completely out of the Heisman race because they hung 50 on Ole Miss and lost, and he got knocked out of the Alabama game after carving them up unlike anybody has done all year. Yours was pretty good. Allow me to just use some hyperbole. It's tough for me to sit here and go, yeah, we'll have 3 losses. He's out of it. Why? He's the best player. Look at the statistics. Jaden Daniels completing 72% of his throws. That's 8% more than Jordan Travis. It's 3% more than Michael Penix. Not as good as McCarthy or Nix, but completion percentage, not that big a deal. It's just one of the statistics. In terms of passing yards, Jaden Daniels has been awesome, obviously. He's thrown for 2792. That's 400 or so yards behind Michael Penix. But Jaden Daniels leads the country in touchdown passes with 27, and he's only thrown 4 picks. Penix has thrown 7. The separator here is not the completion percentage. It's not the yards where Daniels has 600 more than McCarthy, and he's got 70 more than Nix, and he's got 300 more than Travis, and he's got 80 more than Beck. He's behind Penix, but that's not the separator here. It's not the touchdowns where Daniels has 27, which is the most, but Penix has 26, and Nix has 25, and he's been awesome. It's not the interceptions. Daniels has 4. Penix has 7. Nix has 2. That's not the separator here either. The separator here is pretty simple. Penix has negative 13 rushing yards this year. Negative 13. I'm counting sacks. Bo Nix has 116 rushing yards this year. J.J. McCarthy has 137 rushing yards this year. Jordan Travis, 190 rushing yards this year. Carson Beck, 70 rushing yards this year. Jaden Daniels, 684 rushing yards. You could pull all these guys up, and they're just north of half of what he's got. It's total offense, where Jaden Daniels leads the country significantly. He's 32 yards per game north of Michael Penix in terms of yards per game. And he's accounted for more touchdowns. Jaden Daniels has accounted for 33. Michael Penix has accounted for 27. The only differentiator here that is moving the needle is the wins and losses. Penix played like garbage in the game 2 weeks ago, but they won. So leave the odds where it is. Daniels played sensationally in 2 of the 3 losses, but he gets hurt. Not literally, he literally got hurt, but he gets hurt in the Heisman Bowl because his defense is atrocious. Now, I'm not going to fully dismiss the second half of the Florida State game, but if we want to go back and look at it, Malik Neighbors fell down once and Kyron Lacey dropped one, and those are 2 of the 3 drives LSU got stopped on. I'm in Baton Rouge. I'm an LSU alum. I work for the LSU Sports Radio Network. I bleed purple and gold. This is the guy that I would like to win the Heisman Trophy, Jaden Daniels. That should come as no surprise. I have inherent bias in that way. But I think any 2 reasonable college football fans that came together and discussed this Heisman race would have to include Jaden Daniels right in the middle of it and may have to favor him. I thought Nix was really good in the game they lost to Washington, and his statistics are almost as good as Penix's. He's completing a higher percent of his throws. He's behind by about 500 yards in terms of passing yards, but he's accounted for more touchdowns and more rushing yards, and he's turned it over fewer times. But he wasn't quite as good that Saturday in Seattle, so I got it. I don't want to sound like I'm dismissing Michael Penix's entire season. I'm not. I'm more so dismissing the notion that because one guy's team's undefeated and the other guy's team's got 3 losses, mean we have to heavily shift towards that guy. I just don't see it that way. And we'll see what the next 5 days hold. Because if Jaden Daniels can't play against Florida, and then he's got Georgia State, and then all of a sudden you've lost a game of production, your statistics may not look as good against the guys that are rolling up stats this week, and it'll get away. And I think Jaden Daniels, if he doesn't play, may find himself out of New York altogether. We saw that with Hendon Hooker last year at about basically this point in the schedule. Hendon Hooker was right there in the mix. Didn't play great against Georgia, so probably was not the favorite. But he would have gotten an invite to New York if he was able to finish the season. And the fact that he couldn't took that away from him. And that's probably wrong, too. But Jaden Daniels has been the best player in college football this year, in my estimation, my subjective opinion, and deserves any national award that comes his way. It would not surprise me at all if the end result of this was Jaden Daniels playing excellent the last 3 weeks, Michael Penix playing excellent the last 3 weeks, Washington winning the Pac-12, and Michael Penix wins the Heisman Trophy. Jaden Daniels gets an invite to New York and wins the Maxwell or the Davey O'Brien or whichever quarterback award you want to give. That wouldn't surprise me at all. It happens all the time. But I believe he should still be firmly in the mix for the Heisman Trophy because everyone knows that the reason that he's fallen back out of the favorite lead is because they've got 3 losses. And everyone also knows that he played incredible football in 2 of the 3 losses. Incredible. So I'm hopeful that this works itself out over the last couple of weeks and that Jaden is recognized the way that he should be because he's been just incredible. And it'll be really unfortunate if this injury and concussion knocks him completely out of this whole deal. We saw it 12 months ago, so it won't be a huge surprise. But I'm hopeful that that's not the case. My thoughts on the Heisman Trophy as we move into the middle of November. When we come back, we'll hear some sound from Brian Kelly from yesterday, Sharif Ishak in 15 minutes. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
As the weather gets cooler, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel right now. New customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Been thinking about joining FanDuel? No better time to get in on the action. The app's so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame moneyline wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues and knowledgeable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Running Bart's marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED.
Sunday, we will bring you 3 different NFL games. We will start with the noon kickoff, the 49ers at Jaguars. Immediately following that, it's Lions and Chargers, and then our nightcap, the Jets and Raiders. To catch all 3 of those games, tune in right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here on this Tuesday. Excited to chat with Sharif here coming up. It's always better to chat with Sharif. Well, maybe it's better to chat with Sharif after a loss because it's going to be super salty. But Saints got to win. They've won a couple in a row, so maybe Sharif is in a super good mood. The Pels are kind of treading water, which is predictable. So we'll see what Sharif has to say here in 13 minutes. Unfortunately, one of the predominant thoughts that I have been conveying over the last 48 hours has been, where's LSU's commitment to this season now? I hate asking the question, and I do fully recognize that far more often than not, college players, no matter the sport, stay committed, stay locked in, and still play exceptionally hard. I mentioned LSU's team in 2020 that did that for the last 2 games. I mentioned LSU's team in 2021 that did that the last game they played. LSU's basketball team last year, I thought, played hard late in the season and won a couple of games, even though they had been so downtrodden for 2 months. Like, college players want to play, and they're on TV, and they're playing for the transfer portal, they're playing for their professional lives, or they're playing for their brothers and their team, or they're generally pretty locked in. And I have very little doubt whether or not LSU is going to come out on Saturday night ready to play. Like, I really believe that they will. But the question has to be asked, because in this sport, your goals can get taken away earlier than most sports. And that's where LSU sits right now. We've talked about it a ton. Brian Kelly talked about how to avoid coming off the highs of going to play at Tuscaloosa and then that loss, and how to avoid kind of a crash back to earth.
It's the same thing about, last week was about. It wasn't an emotional week. It was a preparation week for us. So this week will be the same. It goes to what I said. Like, if we want to be elite, we have to be consistent. We won 10 games last year. You need to win 10 again. And that's in front of you. And if you want to start closing the gap towards being elite, then back-to-back 10-win seasons starts to do that. So it's a challenge to our football team in terms of how do you want this program to continue to grow? It's on your shoulders, and you have an opportunity to continue to get better. Coaches need to get better, and players clearly need to get better. And so this is a great opportunity, playing a really good opponent at home, and you've got a chance to move from being a good team to being a great team.
You didn't really ever have to wonder whether or not student athletes cared about the development of the program. 10 years ago, you were in it and you feel like you're committed to it and want to further it. But in the era of the transfer portal, like, good or bad, and I think some of the transfer portal is good and some of it's not so good. Like, sometimes you can question that. Like, you got guys that have opted out of the rest of their season. I can't even remember who it was, but I saw it on TV yesterday. Somebody said, "Yeah, I'm leaving the team, going to the transfer portal. I'm out." And I was like, "Man, I feel like that wasn't something that happened 10 years ago. You were in because you knew if you transferred, you had to sit out a year. So you're going to make the best of it and try to push things forward." And whether or not the players feel that way, I don't know. I can't speak to them individually. I don't know. But I do know that while this is a year-to-year sport and in a year-to-year era of college sports where there's so much turnover with the transfer portal and bringing in high school players, that there still is a program, like, it's the center of things. It's more in flux than it's ever been, but it still exists. And so LSU's in a position right now where you feel like they're towards the top of the SEC Western Division as it stands. You feel like LSU's in a better spot than Mississippi State? Yeah. Feel like LSU's in a better spot than Arkansas? Yeah. Feel like LSU's in a better spot than Auburn? I do, yes. And A&M is in some big trouble. And that's one of the things that I want to talk about. It's like A&M is teetering right now. And you are in significant recruiting battles with Texas A&M right now. And the best way to continue to win those is to do what you've been doing on the recruiting trail and keep selling your school and keep staying in contact, but also to win while they falter. And they faltered the last few weeks. And LSU needs to give the impression that LSU is still a program on the rise, still a program that after 2 500 seasons came out last year, got the big win over Alabama, and went to the SEC championship game, and has a chance this year to be a 10-win team. That's what you've got to work towards. And so, Brian Kelly talked about whether or not you want to be elite.
It's about who do you want to be? You can be bad at things. You can be average at things. You can be good at things. You can be great or elite. And great requires more of a commitment. And so they're going to have to give more this week. The coaches are going to have to give more. The players are going to have to give more. So you have choices to make. I want to be around great. I want to be around elite. I didn't come down to LSU to be good. I came here to be elite. Our players that sign scholarship papers here, I'm sure they do it because they want to be elite too. I know our fan base doesn't want good. I can tell already that that's not the case. So these are weeks where you're talking about, why are you here? I know why I'm here. Why are you here?
That's the right message. It's just whether or not it takes. And truth be told, you won't know 100% on Saturday. LSU could come out on Saturday and play as hard as they can and get beat. LSU could come out and have some guys that are already looking to transfer and tiptoeing elsewhere and have kind of checked out, and they could still beat Florida because Florida's not great and Jaden Daniels may play and be awesome. So you won't know, but it's always about building right now at LSU, and that's what they're working towards. Now, the last question we have here and the last soundbite we have here probably frames the most interesting conversation of them all. Because just let me lay this out to you. Tell me what this sounds like to you. Brian Kelly took over a program that in 2020 was a 500 football team that in 2021 got annihilated by Kentucky, was non-competitive in multiple games, was another 500 team, and that fielded a team in a bowl game that had like 38 guys on it. That's what he took over. He came in, hired a staff. In year one, beats Alabama. Takes care of business against Auburn and Florida on the road for the first time in the history of the school. Wins the SEC Western Division Championship. He signs a top 10 recruiting class. He comes into the next year, puts up numbers that are the best in the country on offense with a Heisman Trophy candidate at quarterback. And if I tell you all of those things, you go, holy crap, he took over what and did what? That's unbelievable. This guy's got this thing on the fast track. Now, I omitted last year's blowout to Tennessee. I omitted last year gagging against Texas A&M. I omitted the Georgia loss in the SEC Championship where it was clear you weren't on their level. I omitted the Florida State game this year, and the two other losses that LSU suffered this year were in the defense, which is historically bad. It's probably somewhere in the middle of, wow, what a meteoric rise this has been, and man, this could be not so great. But the question that was asked of Brian Kelly was, has how good Jaden Daniels has played accelerated the expectation level and maybe distorted the reality of where this program is?
Our offense is ahead of our defense. I want our defense to catch up, right? Our offense is, one of the best, if not one of the best offense in the country. But we're not at the same level. We have to continue to build, and we have to continue to recruit. We have to continue to coach at the highest level, and that's just not the case yet. But we're going to continue to get there, and we're going to continue to make the progress. I was asked the question, where do you feel your defense is? We're making progress defensively. It might not be at the level we all want to, but we have to then in the offseason look at, all right, where are we in all phases? Kind of the question that Ed brought up is the bigger picture. We'll do a deeper dive at the end of the season on all those other things because we have to be able to catch up to where our offense is.
It's not hard. You know how I painted that real rosy picture there a second ago? It's also not real hard for me to do this one on the flip side and go, so next year, where's Jaden Daniels going to be? NFL. Malik Neighbors leads the country in receiving. He'll be in the NFL. Brian Thomas leads the nation in receiving touchdowns. He'll be in the NFL. Those are your engines that make this thing go. So your offense would stand to reason. May take a small step back, may take a significant step back. And your defense stinks. So where does that leave you for next year? Like that's the other side of this coin. And the truth is that LSU does lose Jaden Daniels, is going to lose those two wide receivers, but they've got a lot of really talented wide receivers. They've got a quarterback on the roster with a lot of college seasoning. I wouldn't say experience, but seasoning. And you're bringing a solid offensive line together year over year that's going to have some real NFL pieces to it next year. So the offense with that running back room should still be pretty damn good. So it's interesting where this program is, and we tend to make massive generalizations and strong opinions week to week. I try to stay away from that. Sometimes I get caught up, but it's interesting, and I do believe that the next 3 weeks of football games for LSU are important in terms of wins and losses, because you have got to keep recruiting. And if you've got a team in A&M that's in flux that you're battling with, and you look to be in better shape than them, maybe you can flip a couple of guys and keep moving this thing in the right direction while one of your chief competitors, which I think is going to remain that way even when the divisions go away, may have to restart things. I guess it's what makes this thing so interesting 12 months out of the year. Our guy Chuck Oliver, who is on here from 6 to 8 every night, he talks about this all year because of interesting big picture conversations like this. Paul Feinbaum does this all year because of big picture interesting thing like this. When LSU takes the field against Florida on Saturday, I'm probably not going to be thinking about much of this stuff. But as we sit here on Tuesday, before I get to diving into X's and O's on Graham Mertz and Trevor Etienne and Ricky Pearsall, I'm sitting here going, man, where are things? And what have we seen for the last 16 months? And what does it mean for Jaden Daniels? And it's fascinating to me. But my solution would be, hey, just go out there on Saturday night in Death Valley and take it to Florida like you have for the better part of a decade. That'll be job number one for Brian Kelly and this Fighting Tiger football program. Sharif Ishak's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Jersey Mike's, Highway 30 in Gonzales near the new Heritage Shopping Center. Stop on in. A little late for lunch, but hey, just go grab a sandwich. If not, dinner is an awesome option. If you're tailgating for LSU this weekend, you're thinking, what can I get for the group? Jersey Mike's Catering is a fantastic option, and it's 20% off at the Highway 30 in Gonzales location if you tell them you listen to the Hunt Palmer Show. They've got the original Italian. They've got the club on a sub, which I love. It's got that ham, that bacon, that turkey. And it's got delicious bread. If you have not tried Jersey Mike's, I strongly, strongly would recommend it. Maybe try one of the cheesesteaks. I love the Bacon Ranch chicken cheesesteak. Fantastic stuff at Jersey Mike. Download the app. Stop by and see our friends at the location on Highway 30 in Gonzales. If it's a catering order, it's a quick lunch or a dinner, feeding the office, always think about Jersey Mike's. Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Sean Salisbury joins us and a recruiting update with Shea Dixon. Hopefully you'll join us Tuesday 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along on this Tuesday, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline we go. Sharif Ishak, WDSU, our guest every Tuesday at 2:30, joins us now. Sharif, how are we doing?
I'm good because my pick for the NFC South is looking really good, even when they were losing 3-4 weeks ago.
Wow, what a great pick by you, Sharif. It's a really tough division, so I'm thrilled that you were able to peg the front runner there. That, of course, would be the black and gold New Orleans Saints, winners of 2 straight. Do you feel any better about the New Orleans Saints after 2 straight wins?
No, not really. I still feel the same. I mean, like I felt the same last week after the win. I thought the offense was good against the Colts. This week, they started good and then fizzled off in the second half, and the defense was the opposite. Started slow again for the 4th straight game and finished strong. But weak division, they're beating the teams now that they're supposed to beat, but that was a little bit of a disappointing win because of the fact that they had 5 takeaways and only beat a team that's 2-6 by 7 points.
Do you take some solace in the fact that they are taking the ball away as well as they are when having done that none last year?
Right, you're right. They're leading the NFL in takeaways at plus 18. They're tied with the Jaguars, who also are at plus 18. Last year, they finished with 14 takeaways and just 7 interceptions. They lead the NFL with 12 interceptions this year. So, yes, the move to change the defensive coaching staff was probably smart when you look at it now and bring in Joe Woods and company, and it's paid off up to this point. You're getting a lot of active hands back there, and you got to give Paulson Adebo a lot of credit. This was probably the best game of his career at all levels. I mean, those were some instinctual plays, contested plays, especially the one where he punched out the ball and recovered it. So, that defense is doing what it needs to do at the right time. It would just be nice, like Cam Jordan has said over the last month, to start fast and finish fast.
What do you think about Brian Brazee's play this far halfway through his rookie year?
I told you this before the season started when they drafted him, that some of the stats may not show up, but he's doing the right things, and he's continuing to progress in that defense. He knocked the ball down late in the game when the Bears were pinned against they had their backs pinned against the goal line, and he got them off the field. He does some things you won't ever notice, like. And the other guys like Carl Granderson might get the stat for him. He just stops up he can stop up the middle and let other guys bounce to the outside and take the TFLs. But I think he is doing what he was drafted to do, and that's plug up the middle of the defense. Now, he kind of got eaten alive a little bit by Tyson Bagent and some of the running backs, but I think he is doing better and better each week. So I like to pick 9 games through the season and watching him play.
We knew that they were playing some bad quarterbacks, and Tyson Bagent certainly qualifies for that, and you'll see Josh Dobbs this week, who certainly qualifies for that. Does that minimize what you make of what the defense has done?
It's yes and no. What they did in the first half was just bad. I mean, you're talking about a guy running the bootleg and not a single player was around him. He was running wild. It really kind of looked like Jalen Milroe for a little while, the way he was running around the Saints defense. Not a single person in sight. But they made the adjustment, and you got to give them credit for that part, at least making the adjustment. It's an older defense, huh? Got a lot of guys who've been in the NFL for a while in that defense, and it's starting to show. But, yeah, I give them a little credit, but I think if you were to listen to Cam Jordan and some of the defensive players, they don't seem to be happy with some of this play, and it's really sloppy.
Let's talk about the offense, which has obviously been hot and cold, but mainly cold, and has had its spots. But it seems like more of those spots come when Taysom Hill is on the field. What have you gathered from y'all's press conferences with Dennis Allen and just watching what the Saints are doing offensively when Taysom's out there?
It's hard to stop, regardless if you know that it's coming your way. 7 or more carries and they're 18-1. So I think that's part of the formula they need to keep working with. You don't need to let him throw the ball. Just, dude, hey, get him out there, let it run the power. And he at least gets you 3 or 4 yards each time. And I think that has to continue being part of the offense. I know people hate when the quarterback comes off the field, but if it's working, there's no need to take him off the field for short yardage situations, or even when you're close to the red zone or in the red zone. So I like it. It has to continue being part of the creativity in Pete Carmichael's offense.
Is Andrews Pete the answer this year at left tackle?
It's crazy to believe that it is. I cannot believe it. The offensive line did not give up a single sack, knowing that Montez Sweat was on that defensive line playing this week. They've only given up 2 sacks in the last 3 games. And I'd say it's working now. It's working now, and the offensive line is healthy. So if it ain't broken, don't fix it. So you leave him at left tackle until something happens, and you hope that nothing happens with Andrews Pete now that everything's working.
What are your early impressions of the Vikings as we ease into that side of the week?
No Cam Akers. Josh Jobs, didn't practice at all last week. Came in to beat the Falcons, the most Falcons loss ever. That's always historically a tough place for them to play. I see the line is 2.5 Saints. I'm a little surprised by that, honestly, even though the Saints, like I told you a few times, have the better roster. I don't know if Jefferson's going to play. But if you're going to win the division, it's not like a broken record, but you got to beat these teams, and you got to beat the backup quarterbacks or the rookie quarterback. I'm kind of hoping the defense wakes up, and they can't continue this trend. And the way they win this game is through their defense, and most of the rest of their game is going to have to be through their defense. They need to put the offense in pretty good positions, which they did with the 5 takeaways in this game, put them on the plus side of the field, and just only 10 points off those turnovers. That's disappointing. But, yeah, I do like the matchup, knowing what the Vikings don't have on the field and what the Saints have on the field.
If Sean Payton was the coach of this team, would Blake Grupe be the kicker?
Absolutely not. Like, look, Dennis put it like the right way yesterday. Grown man league. We don't care about people's emotions. I mean, I think this is his last game. If he has any issues this game during a bye week, they'll be finding a new kicker. I'm surprised they haven't done it yet. I mean, 18 of, you look at the kicks, 18 of 23, but 3 of those kicks have been very crucial in the season so far, and that can't continue. You got to have a kicker, and if it happens again this Sunday, even if they win, I think they'll be looking for a new kicker because they got a nice list of kickers out there that they can go sign.
Your pick for Saints Vikings?
I'll take the Saints. I just don't. It's going to be tough. It's tough, man. If for some reason they do a little bit better on the road offensively, for the most part. I mean, if you slice away the injury to Carr in that Texans game, I thought they did okay on the road compared to being at home. But if they can have that formula from the first half against the Bears and use that for most of the game and pace them, yeah, it'll be fine. They should win that game. And I've seen that Derek Carr starting to work the middle of the field a little bit more, and he gets to all 3 levels. I think it's getting better. It's not great, but it's getting better with time.
We'll see. Saints and Vikings coming up on Sunday from the Twin Cities. All right, Pels 4-3 tonight. They are in Minnesota. Speaking of Minnesota, they're in Minnesota tonight. 5.5 points is the number. Timberwolves are favored. How's the health at this point? We're 2 weeks in, and it feels like that's already what we're talking about.
It's so up and down, man. I feel bad for C.J. McCollum. It's not as bad as they thought it was going to be with the punctured lung. It's a small puncture, so maybe he doesn't miss that much time. I mean, he's crucial to this team. He's a warrior. Guy plays like every single game if he's hurt or not. And if he can't play, it's something serious. But hopefully it's not that long. This has to be the B.I. and Zion show. I mean, they certainly have to take it. They have to take the reins on this team now that they're healthy, and they've got to play like they're the max players on this team. And watching last night's game in Denver, man, those third quarters are just becoming worse and worse, and the offensive rebounds that the other teams are having are becoming very bad for this team. I know it's the Nuggets, are the defending champions. They had the Joker. But, man, you were up 20 points in the second quarter, and that third quarter hit you really hard, 40-21. And they've been outscored in the 3 losses in the third quarter, 120-65.
Jeez.
That's not great, man. And that is not great. Second half, I think it's minus 95 through the season. you ain't winning many games like if you can't rebound and you're not playing any defense in the third quarter. And it's just bad last night. And, the Timberwolves, they look pretty good. I mean, they got Ant, they got Cat, and having those two guys, the way they can score, the way the defense has been playing second half, it's going to be tougher than tomorrow in Minnesota. It really is going to be tough. That's notoriously a tough place for them to play as well. But if we can get some Jordan Hawkins like he was last night, plus the other two guys, and contributing from the starters, maybe they have a chance with the last two games on the road.
We shall see. All right, Sharif, we appreciate your time, man. We'll do it again next week.
All right, Hunt. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Sharif Ishak, WDSU, down in New Orleans, our Saints and Pels combo correspondent down there in the Big Easy. One more timeout. We'll come back and close it up at the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Don't let the power go out. It's a nuisance. It's inconvenient. You can prevent it. Boudreaux's Electric, a certified Generac generator dealer, a premier Generac generator dealer, top 3% in the country in terms of dealing Generac generators. And every Generac generator that you buy from Boudreaux's Electric is going to be personally installed by a full-time Boudreaux's Electric employee. Not going to be somebody they contract in and just go set it up. No, somebody that works for them. And it's going to come with a 10-year free warranty. Free 10-year warranty at Boudreaux's Electric. Imagine you're watching the game, thunderstorm rolls through, you lose power. It happened to me, College World Series. Paul Skeen's about to take the mound, hour before first pitch. I don't have power. Prevent that. Boudreaux's Electric can do it. And you might say, Hunt, why don't you do it? I'm about to move. We're going to figure that out when we get to the new house. All right. Boudreaux's Electric, getting a new location in Gonzales. 225-300-9389 is the number. 225-300-9389. It is Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644.
Sandgriff, join us for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from the original Walk-Ons, Burbank at Nicholson. Wes Reynolds will be with us along with Scott Rabelais and Randy McKay. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, one more reminder. Sports trivia tonight, Pluckers, 8:30, Nicholson location. I will be there. Appreciate everybody that comes out each and every week. It's always a lot of fun. So if you want to have some fun tonight on a Tuesday, come out to Plucker Sports Trivia at 8:30. We will have you out of there by 10 o'clock. I always look forward to it on Tuesday nights. Got to write my questions after work here. Don't have any done to this point, but that's all right. We can get them done. We've been doing it for like 8 years. We'll figure it out. All right, that's it. Let's do some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. Purdue's Zach Edey, or Eddie? Eddie? Edey won the tip-off last night, and he's 7'4". Purdue sent out a 5'8" guard to jump. Take it or leave it.
If you missed this, it was quite a scene. I guess Samford figured, we're going up to play Purdue. They're one of the top 5 teams in the country. We don't have a ton of size on our roster. Zach Edey's 7'4". He's going to be tough for us to win the jump ball against. Let's just make a mockery of it. So they sent out a 5'8" guard, shortest guy in their starting lineup, to do the tip-off against 7'4" Zach Edey. And like you said, Edey won it. So, yeah, we'll take it. That's exceptional work by Purdue to control the tip there. And a little bit of a humorous start to college basketball season with Samford getting that done.
All right, moving on here. The next one, James Madison is taking over collegiate athletics. Take it or leave it.
I mean, you got to kind of take it. They've been really good at football this year. They were undefeated deep into the football season. And then last night, they take on Michigan State, Tom Izzo's club, which is thought to be pretty damn good. And James Madison beats them in overtime. So, heck of a win there for James Madison. Colonials? Is that what we're going with there?
James Madison. I'll have to check. I'm not sure.
I think they're the Colonials. That's one I'm not 100% certain on, but I want to look it up, so I will. This is good radio. People will really appreciate that.
They are the
James Madison
Bulldogs?
Dukes? The Dukes. James Madison. Yeah. I would have never gotten that. The Dukes? Who's the Colonials? Somebody's the Colonials. Bayou Ford chat.
Oh, that's Robert.
Robert Morris is the Colonials?
Yeah.
Okay, Bobby Moe took down Cal's team in the NIT, one of the great humorous NIT results in history.
By the way, James Madison will not be able to play in any bowl games this year because of a stupid NCAA rule.
Yeah, you have to be. Why on earth would you have to be in D1 for 2 years to play in a bowl game?
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense.
They should be in a bowl game this year. They'll probably be bowl eligible. They should be bowl eligible next year, but they won't be.
But I don't understand. Clearly, there's got to be a reason that I'm not accounting for. So inevitably, this will fall back on me for being an idiot. But it just seems like that's not using very much common sense. We allowed them to play in the games that actually matter for 4 months, and then we play the ones that now don't matter. It's like, you just got the D1. Why don't you take December off? I don't think that's a good idea. But what are we doing? Who is this benefiting?
It doesn't make any sense to me.
They're apparently petitioning, and I think there are going to be a dearth of bowl eligible teams. So I think they may be able to get in. But it's just sometimes they're just things that are decided, and you're like, who came up with this? Why?
Oh, but we know the NCAA is not exactly always known for their decision making.
Very much correct.
All right, last one here. Kim Mulkey's Tigers will run the table until conference play. And side note, this is our Citizens Bank poll question of the day, so go check that out if you want to. But anyway, take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I said this at the top of the show. We spent more time talking about the men's game than the women's game last night, and I'm just not concerned about the women. I watched them a little bit. Van Lit's going to be great. We know what Angel's going to do. Morrow was a little ineffective last night, and then it looked like a scary deal where she may have gotten hurt, but she popped up and seemed to be okay. It's just going to take some time for them to gel. Colorado's got a bunch of seniors that made the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8 last year, and they're going to be fine. I think a lot of people were saying that this is some big wake-up call and Kim sending a message and all that kind of stuff. All that's fine and dandy. The fact of the matter is it's November the 6th last night, and they don't really have to be ready to rock and roll until March the 1st. So they got 4 months to figure it all out, and they'll be just fine. I don't think that anyone will care what the result was in Las Vegas when Selection Sunday comes around and they're eventually a 1 seed and are making a deep run. They're going to be just fine. Again, this is a team that last year only lost 2 games all year and won the national championship, and I think this team is more talented. Doesn't mean that they're only going to lose 2 games and win the national championship. It means they'll have every opportunity to have a monster season. So not concerned about Kim's Tigers at this point, but tough loss for them.
Definitely a legitimate threat in South Carolina, though. They beat number 10 Notre Dame by 29 points last night.
They were in Paris, as it were, so that's pretty cool as well. So, I'm sure South Carolina's going to be awesome. We'll see. I think they're coming to the PMAC this year, so we shall see. That'll do it for us here on this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Open things up with the hoops recap from last night, both men and women. Talked at 1:15 about LSU's quarterback situation this week with Jaden Daniels dealing with the concussion issues and how LSU should handle it. You can catch that at Hunt on LSU on YouTube, Hunt on LSU. Subscribe to that channel if you would. Glenn West was with us at 1:30, talking all things Tigers, football, and basketball. Then my thoughts on the college football playoff at 1:45. Opened second hour with my sincere thoughts on Jaden Daniels and the Heisman Trophy race. I think any notion that he should be dismissed completely because of LSU 3 losses is really dumb, and I laid out that case at 2 o'clock. Some sound from Brian Kelly on getting his team focused and carrying on this week at 2:15, and Sharif Ishak on the Saints at 2:30. He's, of course, from WDSU. If you want that, Hunt on Saints is where you can find it. Everything else on audio, YouTube, Google, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, 1045ESPN.com. You know the usual suspects, where to get our stuff on demand, and we certainly appreciate it if you can't catch us live, getting us somewhere down the road on demand. Excited for tomorrow's show. We'll really start to get into LSU and Florida as the Gators come in for a Saturday night in Death Valley. We'll also hear from J.D. Piquel. It'll be a What If Wednesday, and we'll have our SEC football power rankings tomorrow on our show presented by Schneider's Golf Mechanics. Matt's going to drive you home. See you tomorrow, same time, same place. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Running Parts Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.